Margaret is 67 years old, a retired schoolteacher from Green Bay, Wisconsin, and 11 months ago, she could walk her golden retriever 2 full miles every morning without stopping once. Last month, Margaret gripped the handrail of her own front porch, 3 steps, and her legs would not carry her up without pulling with both arms. Her doctor ran the usual blood work. Her heart was fine, her blood pressure was fine, her vitamin D level came back at 52 nanograms per milliliter, which her chart flagged as excellent, and that excellent number was part of the problem. Margaret was taking 2 of the most common supplements sold to older adults in America. 2 supplements that millions of people past 65 swallow every single morning, believing they are protecting their bones. And those 2 supplements may have been quietly working against the very muscles that keep her standing. And here is what nobody told her. The problem was not that either supplement is poison. The problem was a specific absorption competition happening in her small intestine, a tug-of-war between 2 minerals that share the same doorway into your body, and when one of them wins, your leg muscles lose. In the next 20 minutes, I am going to name both supplements and the exact doses where the research suggests risk starts climbing. I am going to walk you through the absorption blockade mechanism, step by step, in plain language you can repeat to your own doctor. I am going to give you the 2-hour timing rule that may change how much of each mineral you actually absorb. I am going to tell you about the one blood test that can read completely normal, even when the tissue in your legs is running on empty, and the different test to ask about instead. And I am going to give you the food strategy that lets you protect your bones without paying for it with your leg strength. There is also one detail in this story that most pharmacists get wrong, and I will get to it. Because the way they get it wrong is the way you are most likely to get it wrong too. Before we go further, do one thing for me. Drop your age in the comments below, because I read them, and it helps me know exactly who I am talking to. Now here is precisely what you are getting today. First, the names of both supplements and the daily dose thresholds where studies started seeing trouble, including one trial where a higher dose actually increased falls. Second, the calcium versus magnesium absorption blockade, the mechanism the bottle labels never mention. Third, the 2-hour spacing rule and the 500 milligram ceiling that changes how your gut handles each dose. Fourth, the exact question to ask your doctor about testing, because the standard serum magnesium test sees only about 1% of the magnesium in your body. And fifth, the 3 specific foods, with milligram amounts, that rebuild what these supplements may have been draining. A word about who is talking to you. I am not your physician, and nothing in this video is medical advice. My work is reading the published research on medications and supplements in older adults, the trials, the safety warnings, the mechanism studies, and translating it into the plain specifics that a 15-minute appointment never has time to cover. Everything I tell you today comes from named, published sources, and every change I mention is something to discuss with your own doctor before you touch a single bottle. So let me tell you what actually happened to Margaret, because Margaret is a composite of a pattern the research describes over and over, and the details matter. In 2019, at 63, Margaret had a bone density scan that showed early bone thinning. Her doctor, doing exactly what most doctors do, suggested calcium and vitamin D. Margaret went to the pharmacy and bought a bottle of calcium carbonate, 600 milligrams per tablet, and took 2 a day, 1,200 milligrams. She also bought vitamin D, and because a neighbor told her more is better, she chose the 5,000 international unit soft gels instead of the 1,000 unit ones sitting right beside them. Every morning, with breakfast, both pills, together for 4 years. Now here is what Margaret did not count. Her multivitamin for women over 50 already contained another 200 milligrams of calcium. Her morning orange juice was the calcium fortified kind, 350 milligrams per glass. Her antacid chews, which she took most evenings for reflux, were calcium carbonate too, 400 milligrams each. Margaret's real daily calcium load was pushing 2,100 milligrams, roughly 75% above the 1,200 milligrams the National Institutes of Health suggests as the total daily target for women her age, food included. Meanwhile, her magnesium intake from food was around 210 milligrams a day, well under the 320 milligrams the NIH lists for women. The first sign was night cramps in her calves, which she blamed on age. Then her morning walks shortened from 2 miles to 1, then to the mailbox. Then came the chair test she failed, without knowing it was a test, needing her hands to push off the armrests every single time she stood up. By the time she gripped that porch railing, Margaret had lost measurable leg strength in under a year, faster than normal aging explains. Researchers estimate adults can lose muscle at around 1 to 2% per year past 70. But rapid loss like Margaret's usually has a driver. Hers was swallowed every morning with breakfast. And the reason I am telling you Margaret's story is not that she is unusual. It is that her exact combination, high-dose calcium stacked from 4 hidden sources, high-dose vitamin D taken alone, and a magnesium intake below target, describes a very large share of American adults past 65, and most of them are watching their legs weaken, while their blood work says everything is excellent. So here is the mechanism, and I want you to be able to repeat this to a friend at dinner. Calcium and magnesium are chemically similar minerals, and in your small intestine they compete for shared absorption pathways, including transport channels that researchers call TRPM6 and TRPM7. Think of it as 2 crowds trying to get through the same doorway. When you flood the doorway with a large calcium dose, 1,200, 1,500, 2,000 milligrams a day, studies suggest less magnesium may make it through. Not 0, but less, day after day, for years. Now, why does that matter for your legs specifically? Magnesium sits at the center of muscle function. Every contraction of your thigh muscle uses a molecule called ATP for energy, and ATP only works when it is bound to magnesium. Magnesium also governs the signal between your nerves and your muscle fibers, which is why low magnesium so often shows up first as night cramps, twitches, and that heavy, unreliable feeling in the legs. Now for the second supplement, and this is the part almost no coverage of this topic explains. Vitamin D does not work in the form you swallow. Your liver and kidneys have to convert it, twice, into its active form, and the enzymes that do that conversion are magnesium dependent. A 2018 review, published in the Journal of the American Osteopathic Association, laid this out directly, that taking large doses of vitamin D when magnesium is low may drain magnesium stores further because the body spends magnesium trying to process the vitamin D. So look at Margaret's stack again. The calcium was narrowing the doorway magnesium comes in through, and the high-dose vitamin D was spending down whatever magnesium got through. 2 supplements, both marketed for her bones, both squeezing the same mineral from opposite ends. And there is trial evidence that more vitamin D is not automatically better for older legs. A 2016 randomized trial published in the Journal of the American Medical Association, Internal Medicine, gave adults 70 and older different monthly vitamin D doses, and the group on the highest dose, 60,000 international units a month, had more falls than the group on the standard dose, not fewer. An earlier 2010 trial in the same journal family found that a single huge annual dose of vitamin D increased both falls and fractures in older women. The researchers expected stronger legs. They measured weaker outcomes. Margaret's chart said her vitamin D was excellent at 52. Nobody had ever measured whether her muscles had the magnesium to use it. Now let me show you 3 more people, because this pattern wears different faces. Robert is 73, a retired electrician outside Phoenix. Robert takes no calcium supplement at all, and he would tell you that proudly. But Robert has reflux, and Robert chews calcium carbonate antacid tablets after lunch and after dinner, 400 milligrams of calcium each, sometimes 4 a day. His senior multivitamin adds 200 more. His daily calcium-fortified cereal adds 500. Robert is over 1,800 milligrams of calcium a day and does not own a single bottle labeled calcium. When his legs started cramping at 2 in the morning, his doctor checked his standard blood panel, and it was normal. Robert is the hidden stacking case, and if you use antacid chews regularly, Robert may be you. Doris is 79 and lives in an assisted living facility in Tampa. Doris was found to have low vitamin D and was put on prescription-strength doses, 50,000 international units once a week, which is a common and legitimate protocol. But Doris has also taken omeprazole, a proton pump inhibitor for acid reflux, every day for 9 years. And in 2011, the FDA issued a formal safety communication warning that long-term use of proton pump inhibitors can cause low magnesium, sometimes serious enough to require stopping the drug. So Doris had a medication draining her magnesium, a prescription vitamin D dose spending her magnesium, and a facility menu light on magnesium-rich foods. Within a season, Doris went from a cane to a walker, and everyone around her called it just aging. Doris is the medication interaction case, and per the FDA, that interaction is common enough that they put it in writing 14 years ago. And then there is Frank, 66, the case that surprises people. Frank golfs 3 days a week, eats reasonably well, and takes exactly 1 supplement, 5,000 international units of vitamin D daily, because a wellness article told him to. Frank's serum magnesium test came back normal. And this is the open loop I promised to close. The standard serum magnesium test measures the magnesium floating in your blood, and that is only about 1% of the magnesium in your body. Your body defends that blood level fiercely, pulling magnesium out of muscle and bone to keep it steady. So your muscle tissue can be running low for months, while the standard test reads perfectly normal. Frank's legs were cramping through every back 9. His test said fine, and his actual tissue status had never been measured. Frank is the reason a normal result on that one test should not end the conversation. So here is exactly what to do, in order, and I will say it once clearly. Discuss every one of these steps with your own doctor before changing anything, because your kidneys, your medications, and your history change the math. Step 1. This week, count your true calcium load. Take a piece of paper and add up every source: the supplement bottle, the multivitamin label, the antacid chews, the fortified juice and cereal, and your dairy. The NIH target for most adults past 65 is around 1,200 milligrams a day total, food included, and food sources should come first. If your paper says 1,800 or 2,000, bring that paper to your doctor and ask whether your supplement dose still makes sense. Step 2. Apply the 500 milligram rule and the 2-hour rule. Research on calcium absorption shows your gut absorbs it best in doses of about 500 to 600 milligrams or less at one time. So if you and your doctor decide you do need supplemental calcium, splitting the dose beats one large pill. And if you take any magnesium from a supplement or a magnesium-rich meal, spacing it at least 2 hours away from your calcium dose gives each mineral its own turn at the doorway, instead of forcing the competition. Step 3. At your next appointment, ask this exact question. Given my leg symptoms, is my magnesium status actually adequate? And would a red blood cell magnesium test tell us more than the serum test? Some doctors will say the evidence on that test is still debated, and that is a fair answer. But the question itself moves the conversation from your blood to your tissues, which is where your legs live. Step 4. Put your vitamin D dose on the table. The NIH recommended dietary allowance past 70 is 800 international units a day, and many people are taking 5,000 or more without anyone deciding that on purpose. Bring up the 2016 trial, where the highest monthly dose meant more falls, and ask whether your dose matches your measured level and your actual needs. Do not stop a prescribed dose on your own, especially if you were treated for deficiency. Just make the dose a decision instead of a habit. Step 5. Rebuild magnesium with food first, because food carries none of the risks of pills. 1 ounce of pumpkin seeds carries roughly 150 milligrams of magnesium. Half a cup of cooked spinach, around 78. Half a cup of black beans, around 60, and an ounce of almonds, around 80. 2 of those a day, most days, moves most people meaningfully toward the target of 320 milligrams for women and 420 for men. And while you are at it, ask your doctor or pharmacist whether any of your current medications, proton pump inhibitors and certain diuretics especially, are known to lower magnesium. Now, one more thing, and this is the detail I said most pharmacists get wrong. If you and your doctor decide a magnesium supplement is appropriate, the form on the label matters enormously, and the cheapest bottle on the shelf is usually magnesium oxide. A published bioavailability study estimated that magnesium oxide is only around 4% absorbed. 4%. Worse, the 96% that stays in your gut pulls in water and causes loose stools, and chronic loose stools drain even more minerals. Forms like magnesium glycinate or magnesium citrate absorb considerably better in the available research and are far gentler. So the person who dutifully takes magnesium oxide every day can stay depleted while believing the problem is handled. One firm caveat here. If you have kidney disease or reduced kidney function, which is common past 65, magnesium supplements can build up to dangerous levels, so this is never a self-prescribed move. Ask first, always. And if your magnesium is coming from pumpkin seeds and spinach instead of a bottle, this whole paragraph matters less, which is exactly why food came first on the list. If you take nothing else from today, take this. Margaret's legs did not fail because she was careless. She weakened while she was following advice. 2,100 milligrams of stacked calcium, 5,000 daily units of vitamin D, and a magnesium intake 100 milligrams below target. A combination that may quietly starve the very muscles that keep you off a walker. While every standard blood test smiles back at you. The fix costs almost nothing. A piece of paper to count your calcium, a 2-hour gap between doses, one pointed question at your next appointment, and a handful of pumpkin seeds. That is a 9-minute conversation with your doctor that could change the next 10 years of how you move. If this video gave you something your last appointment did not, hit the like button and subscribe to Vital Years, because every subscriber helps this reach one more person whose legs are sending signals nobody has explained. And if you have a parent, a spouse, or a neighbor past 65 who takes calcium and vitamin D together every morning, send them this video today, because the odds are high that no one has ever counted their real numbers either. Take care of those legs. They are carrying everything that matters. And I will see you in the next one.